Hey guys, how's it going? KRIPP'S here. Today I have another build guide for Diablo 4 Season 9 that is upon us anytime now, might even be out already. This is probably going to be my build project for the season. This is going to be the build that I'm going to play. I will give you guys the warning, this is an experimental build. There is currently, for the exact setup, no testing. There has been no testing for this build. It is highly experimental, but on the flip side of that is it's really refreshing that, we can go into the game and play something that is completely different. So what is completely different? Well, we had a PTR. Why didn't we just play with it there? Well, we couldn't, because this patch note did not occur in the PTR that they had for Season 9. So we are playing it for the first time live. Hulking Monstrosity, so this is like the keystone passive in the Paragon system for the Golem board. So it used to give your Golem 40% more life and have it do double damage, and now it still does that, but also Skeletal Mages and Skeleton Warrior sacrifice bonuses grant an additional 35% Golem damage. And this is a really exciting change because this single change prompts us to play an entirely new build for Summon Necromancer, and is one that I'm very excited about because I think it's going to be pretty good and very different to anything that we've played before. Why is this so good? It's just 35% more damage, right? Wrong. It's way more than that. It is so much more than that. I'd have to get a bit more into the math to show you guys, but the reason it's so strong, it's because it's the actual sacrifice bonus that gains this. And one thing that Necromancers can do is they can modify their sacrifice bonuses and ramp them up to pretty large values, meaning that this 35 Golem damage, which is each for the Skeleton Mages and the Warriors, you can ramp up to a very large amount, giving your Golem a whole lot of damage. Now, this is also going to require a bit of a balancing act because it's not, hey, just gain a bunch of damage. It actually is going to require some proper theory crafting because taking away minions from your build actually results in losing damage if you're playing Minion Necromancer. So I've been working on this build for a bit. I want to show you guys what I have so far and why I think it will work. If you guys do want to check out the build, it will be, of course, on Mobalytics. I will have a link for you guys to check out the build below. Make it easy for you guys. I do have the whole setup. I have gone through this again and again and again. I think this is going to be the best possible setup. So let's get into it. The really big secret sauce here is going to be sacrificing both warriors and mages. Okay. Now this means that we're going to have literally one minion, the Golem. Will it work? I don't know. I hope so. So we sacrifice the warriors for crit chance, which is not very good, but we can't really get the Golem to regularly do shadow damage. There's like some residual shadow damage from like Bone Storm made shadow, but there's no way you do any real damage with that. And the other one is all resist. So some form of damage is gained from crit chance because you can get so much of it for free using the sacrifice bonus, and we can focus on other things for our gearing. However, the Skeleton Mages, we can get 20 vulnerable damage. So we get 20 vulnerable damage, and we get 35 Golem damage from sacrificing mages, and another 35 Golem damage from sacrificing warriors. However, because we sacrifice both of them, we can take advantage of, where is it here? Memento Mori. So sacrificing both warriors and mages increases their sacrifice bonuses by 60%, and that 60% goes to 80% if you have a Shroud of False Death, because it gives you +1 to all of your passives. So when it comes to like 10 crit, your 10 crit will become 18 crit. Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. But the sacrificial bonus from the aspect, 55, and on a two-hander, 110%, is actually a multiplier on the entire bonus. So that 18% crit will more than double and go to almost 40. Now this will also work on the Golem bonuses, and that will make the sacrificing warrior bonus more than double your damage, and the mage bonus, more than double your damage again, effectively quadrupling your damage, and you still get the crit chance, and you still get a whole bunch of vuln damage here. So overall, you actually get a crazy amount of damage with this build. Now, we are going to use the Blood Golem that does extra damage, but also quite importantly in this version of the build, heals you and the Golem heals itself when you use the cooldown. Because we sacrifice both warriors and mages, we don't have the skeletal, like, priest cooldown. That's kind of how you heal your minions. So you can't heal your minion unless you use exactly this one. Fortunately, this golem does quite a lot of damage, but he attacks real slow, so we don't use Mendel. And we use Fell Gluttony. So Fell Gluttony makes it so your golem explodes when you press the golem button, and it can consume one corpse every second to reduce its cooldown by 1 second. Now, what you're going to want to do is reduce the golem cooldown by 75%, which is currently the maximum. The base blood golem cooldown is 16 seconds, so you can get it to 4 seconds. And if you have it at 4 seconds, basically in the first second it's going to consume a corpse, and in the second second it's going to consume a corpse, which is minus 2 seconds, and then 2 seconds have elapsed while it has consumed those corpses. So basically you can use the golem button every 2 seconds if you have sufficient corpses with this build. Now, getting sufficient corpses is not trivial, because you're not running any other minions, and you're relying on a lot of lucky hit effects, which is why we have this particular Herodric setup there. It's a pretty convoluted build, but I think it will work, and I think it'll be awesome. Now, Fell Gluttony and Sacrificial Aspect, I have exhaustively done the math with a little bit of help from Macro Bioboy, a Necro God. And basically, they are almost tied for effectiveness. You basically use whichever one you have a better roll. So if you have like a perfect sacrificial and your Fell Gluttony is not perfect, you put the sacrificial on the weapon. If you have a perfect Fell Gluttony and you have a mediocre sacrificial, you'll put the Fell Gluttony on the weapon and the sacrificial on the amulet. Now, that's only if you have a Shroud of False Death. If you don't, the Fell Gluttony will always be better on the weapon. For Blood Moon Breaches, we are not able to activate Hellbent Commander, so you want to go full on Golem, which is pretty interesting. It's also not going to reliably proc the KRIPP'S curses, because your summoning skills have 7% chance to randomly inflict Decrepify or Iron Maiden. We got a single minion, so we got to use the Curse Aura, but the Curse Aura is really consistent. You don't have that lag time of actually applying the curse, which is really cool. I actually really like Curse Aura for speed farming. Now, we don't have like a whole bunch of minions, so we can't use the minion rune. We got to use Igni for Thul, which gives us 50% more damage and freeze. And Ahu and Cax is the best damage rune in the game right now that they nerfed Overpower into the ground. But this does mean that you might need to help proc it through lucky hit effects. You might want to like spam Blight, throw a Reap in there, keep doing your Corpse Tendrils. It'll help with Soul Rift uptime also. The Herodric spells, we use Disintegrate for 2 reasons. The first reason is that I am told from rudimentary testing from the PTR, which might be a little bit outdated, we'll have to see, it procs the most lucky hit. And for this build, that is the most important thing. Also, we're going to tie it to the Golem button, so it's just going to go off on cooldown. And the Bloody Charm, it has basically kind of like a culling effect. It executes mobs if they have less than 20% health and they're not bosses. Now, the Bloody Charm has different effects based on which catalyst you use. With the Disintegrate catalyst, it's actually, the threshold is doubled for non-elite monsters. So that means that you can call them from 40, which means that you are going to go single target pretty often, which is really good because the Blood Golem cooldown does triple damage if there's only one target. And yes, it does do sufficient damage. Before I forget, we are using the bonus to Titanfall, which is the extra damage to elites, because elites are going to be the ones that don't get executed. They're going to be the last ones standing, so we want to do the most damage to them. The other factor is that normally you would use like your golem hits twice. If you have played like a full-on Golemancer like in Season 4 when they were first really good for the first time, well, that double hit does work on the golem cooldown's damage, but it does not work on the Fell Gluttony damage portion, which is the lion's share of your damage. So that's why we are using Titan's Fall there. The other ones, well, they don't really matter, but Potent Alloy is quite good. You don't have to deal with barriers. Barriers in Diablo 4, if you're not aware, actually prevent crit damage from doing any additional damage, and that is a pretty big deal because we have so much of that. The other ones are not too abnormal. You will see these in a lot of builds, but it's pretty nice because the new gems that have extra effects, they have both armor and all resist. We're playing a necromancer. You get armor and all resist on the paragon tree and the passive tree. We also get a whole ton of crit from sacrificing skeleton warriors. So basically this build is just off the ground really, really quickly, and that is pretty awesome. A few choices here in the skill tree that I feel obligated to explain. Most of the stuff will make sense if you've played a Necromancer before. Just have a quick look on the Mobalytics guide. We are using Soul Rift. It is nerfed. Instead of like 75% more damage, it's 15% more damage. Why do we do this? Well, it's still pretty good. It still hits really fast. It still procs lucky hit quite a lot. Improves vulnerable uptime a little bit. It's not too bad. Also, the skill that we trigger, it is going to do corrupting damage if it's damage over time, and it is damage over time. Why is that relevant? Because we only have one minion. Why would we use Kalan's Edict if we only have one minion? We are going to use Affliction. Now, it's not updated on this one, but it will be updated by the time you click on the guide, most likely. Affliction is increasing from 15% damage multiplier for cursed targets or corrupted enemies. The ability will corrupt them, so we'll have really, really high uptime on this. It's going to 45% more damage. So it's actually going to be comparable with Kalan's Edict, and we won't have to suffer from having only one minion. So that is pretty interesting also. In terms of the Paragon board, we again make some choices that are not really seen in recent times because we've not really played a golem focused build, certainly nothing like this one in the past. We are going to go immediately for the golem board. Yes, Cult Leader is really strong. We're going to go for Cult Leader second, but the golem board is actually even stronger because of those sacrifice bonuses. Now, there are a few new game modes coming out in Season 9, and one of them is kind of like a random event where you have like 100 seconds to clear as much stuff as you can. I actually think that this golem build, particularly for that event, might be the best minion build in the game because the skeleton mage build, while it's the best overall, probably, I don't think it's going to be by a massive margin, but it also has ramp-up time because the skeleton mages have to attack 25 times to become archmages, where you actually start, doing real damage and real throughput. The golem build is going to be awesome because it's instantaneously online. You can play it very early on once you get a few of the aspects. It's just really good through the entire game. It has a constant power level upgrades from just all the different things that can happen. And when it comes to just like content, again, you're online immediately in the content. You press the golem button, you're ready to go. There's almost no ramp up time to damage. And because you're spamming the golem button, the golem is always unstoppable, and your character is also always unstoppable. You're not going to have that thing with prior minion builds where your skeleton army is just frozen, you're just waiting for it to get unfrozen, while of course it's getting repeatedly frozen. So that's a thing in the past, and I'm pretty excited to try this new version of Minion Necro. If you guys do want to join me on the journey, make sure to check out the guide in the link below, and come and check out the stream because I might be playing the build and I'll have some new info for you guys as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.